Shadowverse. High Strangeness HQ. Dot. Dot. The desert wind blows sand through the lot at the HS Investigators HQ. Within the secluded building, Jane's husband looks across his desk at her as she walks into his office, both seasoned investigators with the HS department. She gets a sinking feeling as he looks at her, his expression grave. Then motions for her to take a seat across from him. "Jane, I want you off this case, and before you say anything," he says, seeing her frown. "The current pattern of murders shows that the spirit killer may have come to our town. You match his MO and I want you to stay under protective custody till we get this figured out." Jane narrows her eyes. "You think it's a him?" "There's no indication of that." He shrugs. "I've got a gut feeling and you're too important to risk, Jane." She sighs in annoyance. "Blaze, I can handle myself." He shakes his head. "Jane, you know if it's on our desk it's not just a normal case. The entity or person doing it can lift a car and already killed a more powerful operative than us in the field." He pauses, shaking his head, then continues. "I'm not letting you stay on this case or go without a protection detail." Narrowing her eyes at him a moment, she considers his words carefully. Then with a tone of annoyance says, "All right, fine, I'll accept a protection detail, but I'm not leaving this case and that's final." He leans forward, resting his elbows on his desk. "I was afraid you'd say that," he tells her as another agent from behind cuffs her with silver bracelets that suppress abilities before she can react, though they lack the usual connecting chain. "Hey," she shouts in surprise as she jerks away, standing up. She sees it's Blaze's slightly altered clone, a look of annoyance adorning her face as he stands beside her. "Mikhail, get these things off me or I'll break that knee of yours." He smirks, enjoying the annoyance. "I'm sorry sis, but Blaze is right," he says firmly. "We can't risk losing you too. You're too valuable to this department and we need you safe." Jane struggles, pulling at the suppression devices, glaring at Blaze. "You can't do this to me. Get these things off. You know they make me think about Area 51 and Dante," she says, feeling her chest tighten. Blaze sighs, a hint of regret in his voice. "I know, but we have to keep you safe." She glares at her husband. "Fine, but you're gonna regret this, Blaze," she says, rubbing her wedding ring. He looks at her with a mix of sympathy and determination. "I hope not, Jane, I really hope not. But we're doing this for your own good. I'm sorry about the cuffs, but I know you'd just use your abilities to escape." He signals for Mikhail to escort her to a nearby safe house and await further orders. As they leave, Blaze sighs, leaning back in his chair. "I hope this is the right thing to do," he thinks, feeling off-centered by the whole situation. Dot. 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 As Mikhail drives, Jane glares out the window. He looks over at her from the driver's seat. "Hey, you know we're only doing this because we care about you, right?" he says, trying to sound reassuring. Dot. Dot. After scrolling the news feeds a few minutes, she looks back out at the desert town as they near the Star Valley's center. He looks at her from the driver's seat, sensing her growing tension. "I understand this isn't easy for you, but you know we've got your back." She grits her teeth. "Yeah, so great. Got my back, but none of you think I'm capable of protecting myself," she snaps as they reach the safe house, a modest, well-maintained building located in a quiet neighborhood. As Mikhail pulls into the driveway, he glances at Jane out of the corner of his eye. He sighs. "Look, I know you're upset and I understand why. But you have to understand our perspective too. This killer is smart, strong, and dangerous." Jane grunts, unconvinced. "Yeah, I get it. But I've faced worse," she mutters as they exit the car. Dot. Dot. Back at HS Investigators HQ, Blaze rifles through some pages that another Blacksite investigative team sent on the cases that may be linked to the spirit killer. A name chosen by civilian news organizations for his exclusive targeting of seemingly spiritualists. Dot. Dot. Jane grumbles as Mikhail leads her to the underground entrance of the safe house, where a dark-haired female investigator waits. Jane glances at her in surprise. "Emily, it's been forever. Last I heard you were hot on the trail of the serial shapeshifter," she says, happy to see her old friend from elementary school and the government's main training center at Area 51. Emily grins back, her green eyes twinkling with amusement. "It's good to see you too, Jane. As you can tell, I'm on temporary duty here." mostly cause the shapeshifter's trail went cold in New Mexico. Hoping it's reached the end of its long life cycle, preferably before finding a mate. Mikhail smirks. Now that you're here, I'm gonna go and grab some stuff from the store. You guys want anything? He asks. Jane shakes her head. No thanks. We're fine. Go ahead and grab your stuff. She glances at Emily as they wait for Mikhail to leave. How long have you been stuck here? Emily shrugs. A couple days. The powers that be thought it'd be a good idea to send me over. She says, sitting down on a soft red couch nearby. A couple days, Jane says, raising an eyebrow. So what they put you on our case too? Emily chuckles. Yep, and I just happen to outrank Blaze as an investigator. I just don't head a blacksite agency. She says, unlocking Jane's ability-suppressing bracelets with her universal key. Jane grins, setting the cuffs on the table. Thanks, I hate those things, she says, shuddering. Emily frowns, shaking her head. Blaze knows the cuffs trigger bad memories, kinda insensitive that he made you wear them. Jane sighs, running a hand through her hair. Yeah, well, Blaze has always been a bit overprotective. It's just one of those things. Emily narrows her eyes at her. And if the killer showed up without anyone around, you wouldn't be able to use your key control to fight back. Seems like a bad idea if you ask me. Jane's face hardens as she crosses her arms. Look, I appreciate the concern, but I trust Blaze's judgment. He knows what he's doing. Emily raises her hands, not saying he's a bad guy, but with one of our best agents killed recently. Suppressing your abilities would give an attacker a massive edge, if they did get past the rest of us. Just saying, she tells her. Jane feels a chill run down her spine at the mention of another agent being killed. What? Who was it? She asks, her voice quiet. Her name was Felicity Lynn Carson, Emily replies. She was with HS. Since the start, a real legend. Went down fighting. She pauses, seeing Jane's expression. Jane looks at her. Major Carson was supposed to be at the South Pole Station with our son Dante. How did the spirit killer get to her? She asks. After a while, Mikhail returns from the store carrying a few bags. Hey, sorry that took so long, I had to look around for a bit, he says, setting the bags down on the granite counter. He spots the suppression links on the table. Really, I know they are uncomfortable, but Blaze was adamant those be used if you complied or not. I don't know why, but he probably has a good reason, he says, growing annoyed. Jane scoffs. Yeah, I'm sure he has a great reason. Maybe he thinks I'm too weak, that I can't handle myself. I'm almost as powerful as him. Better at hand-to-hand and weapons combat than even you or Blaze, and am better at efficient energy use. She snaps at him as Emily nods knowingly. Mikhail sighs. Look, Jane, I'm sure you're a talented investigator and capable of taking care of yourself. But Blaze knows the risks and situation better than anyone. She stands up, her annoyance giving way to anger. Knows the risks. If not for you and Emily, I would be defenseless if the killer appeared. How's that safe for Mikhail? And I just now find out. Major Carson is. She's been murdered by the spirit killer and no one's with Dante. He's with those monsters in Antarctica. Alone. Don't lie to me, Mikhail. Did Blaze know? Did he know Carson was moved and was targeted by the spirit killer? Mikhail frowns, taken aback by her outburst. Jane, I understand that you're upset and I don't blame you. But I can't speak for Blaze. He shrugs, setting a cup with shaved ice by the bags. She walks over and slams her hands onto the countertop, crumbling the material around her palms. Did he know our son is alone with our worst tormentors? She asks angrily. Emily watches the exchange, feeling a pang of sympathy for Jane. Blaze tells me everything, but I can't say. I can try to look into it. Jane scoffs. Exactly. And you not knowing, Emily even knows. She says, tearing up as she angrily storms off to another room as she thinks back to the dead agent Blaze mentioned. Mikhail lets out a sigh. I told him we should tell her cause she'd see right through it, but no. He mumbles to himself, then looks after her. It's not as bad as it seems, he shouts as she slams her bedroom door. She paces around her room, her hands balled into fists at her sides. As her emotions build up, she curls into the corner of the small room, crying uncontrollably. A few hours later, Blaze walks through the door of the safe house's underground living quarters. Cuffed with the cancellation tech, a chain and lock entrapping him, Mikhail shrugs. Buddy, I'm sorry, her and Emily, they kinda took off with my car and Jane is free of her suppression cuffs. Hey, don't leave me here. Seriously, he says as Blaze rushes out of the house. A short time later Blaze returns and Mikhail sighs in relief as he unlocks the devices. Rubbing his wrists he shakes his head. Blaze, she knows Carson was the last agent killed. He tells him. Blaze sighs, Mikhail, I know it's not easy for her. But Carson's death will only fuel her determination to catch the spirit killer. And as for Dante, we're doing everything we can to ensure his safety. Mikhail chuckles. It's been 11 years since they took my nephew. He's only been alone a few months. He's not defenseless. You know how Major Carson was. With how she trained him. Wouldn't surprise me if he killed the spirit killer. He smirks solemnly. Blaze nods in agreement. I'm sure he's tough, but it's still not ideal for him to be there. We'll just have to keep a close eye on the situation and do everything in our power to protect him. He says as tears fall. The Charger's 800 horsepower engine grumbles to life and they pull into the road. Blaze looks at Mikhail as they drive off. Did she tell you where they were going at least? Mikhail shrugs. She didn't say, but they were packed pretty light. Probably just wanted to get away for a while. I'll try calling Ems and see if she answers for me. He replies. Blaze looks at him. You flirted with Emily, didn't you? You know Zara's gonna hurt you one day and I'm gonna let her. He tells him as they reach a red light. Mikhail snorts. Yeah, well, you know me. I can't help it. Besides, she didn't seem too bothered by it. As for Zara, I'll take my chances. Blaze nods and sighs. Well, just be careful. I don't want to see you get hurt. He says as the light turns green and he accelerates through the intersection. As they continue driving, Blaze uses the car's no-touch call feature to contact Jane's phone, but it goes straight to voicemail. He pulls over to the side of the road. Okay, now I'm worried. She never turns her phone off. Not even when we had that big fight months ago. He says, starting to panic. Mikhail looks at him. Well, I'll try calling Emily again and see if she knows anything. He says as he dials her number. After a few rings, Emily picks up. Hey, Mikhail, what's up? She asks. Hey, Emily. He says, looking at Blaze. So, I was just calling to see how you and Jane are doing. You know, since you guys took off like that. She sighs. We're fine. Just needed some time alone. We're at a cabin-safe house, don't worry. Blaze frowns. That's good to hear, Emily. But please be careful. This spirit killer case is serious business. He warns her. Emily nods. Don't worry. We know what we're doing. He sighs. No, Jane is to stay away from this case, got it? He says as Emily hangs up. He glances at Mikhail, his expression serious. That was close. We have to be careful though. Jane shouldn't be involved in this case. He says as he turns the car around, heading towards the only cabin-safe house for 200 miles. They drive for a few more hours, then stop for gas and continue until they reach the destination. Only to find it empty. Blaze and Mikhail exchange worried glances as they step out of the car. The cabin is eerily quiet, with no signs of life inside. They walk around the property, calling out for Jane and Emily, but there's no response. Blaze's phone rings, and he answers it with a sense of urgency. Who is this? He says. Blaze, it's me, Emily. We've got a problem. What happened? Are you and Jane all right? We're fine, but we think we've been followed. Blaze stops. Okay, shit. Emily, we are at the cabin house overlooking the lake. Head our way and stay on the main road. As Blaze hangs up, he turns to Mikhail. We need to go, now. Quickly returning to the car, Blaze activates the agency's tracker on his brother's vehicle and Mikhail looks at him. Dude, why didn't we just do that sooner? Blaze frowns. I don't want to overreact and invade their space if nothing is happening. After driving for about an hour, they see a dust cloud in the distance, the Charger's suspension and dirt tires gripping the wide road as they roar through the desert. The sound of gunshots come across the hot, arid landscape as they spot Mikhail's white Dodge Demon drifting around a turn ahead. Blaze flashes his lights and the other car flashes the proper code back. Mikhail's phone rings and he answers, seeing that it's Emily. "Please tell me the black charger is friendly. If it's you guys, we really need the help," she says, sounding tearful. On a small peak a few miles away, a man watches, seeing several large energies with his eyes. He grabs his specially designed rifle and tracks Blaze's blue field. "Finally met your match," he says, channeling power to his 20mm energy rifle. About to slow from 50 miles per hour, Blaze feels a strange, almost laser-like beam. Looking to his left as they are about to turn and follow Emily, a burst of faster-than-light energy catches his attention. He alters his perception as 200 feet of the ridge miles away explodes, hitting the brakes and forcing Mikhail back with his arm. A bright bolt of red energy zips toward them. As it goes through the windows, the near-miss passes in front of them, blowing apart the car, slamming it into the ground from the shockwave as the energy bolt and fired like a 5,000-pound bomb. Emily gasps as just behind them Blaze's charger seems to burst, nearly blown off the road by a seeming beam of energy as an explosion rocks the area, shattering their windows. Seconds later, the sound of the energy rifle shot from miles off reaches them as they drift back around, the chasing vehicle having fled upon seeing the event. Lurching to a halt, they jump out, rushing towards Blaze's unrecognizable armored Dodge Charger, panic rising in their chests. The spirit killer looks at his handiwork. "One try per day. If they made it, oh well. Now they'll know I'm gonna beat them using their own strengths," he thinks, calmly walking away as a miniature mushroom cloud rises into the sky. Blaze, Jane shouts as Emily spots Mikhail a few yards from them. She hurries over to him, dialing the agency. "This is Emily of HS Unit 01. We have men down. Activating emergency tracker. Threat is gone. Repeat, threat is gone," she says. A voice replies. "Copy that, HS Unit 01. Emergency and residual evidence disposal crews are en route now." Emily hangs up and activates the beacon. Looking at Mikhail as she cradles his head, he moans softly. Jane spots Blaze and rushes to him. No, please be okay. Don't leave me," she cries, moving to give CPR as he's not breathing. Her hands touch and she gasps, feeling his shattered chestplate and ribs. "Blaze," she chokes out, connecting her energy with his, using it to massage his heart and work his lungs. Jane grunts as she feels a phantom sense of his body's pain. "Please," she cries just as he gasps in agony. The desert grows quiet as HS Unit 01 awaits the response crews. Jane looks around the arid landscape, her eyes looking to the ridge that the shot was fired from. Then leans down to kiss her husband's forehead. "Whoever did this, we'll catch them, Blaze. I promise," she whispers.